All righty. Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, July 21st at 5:34 p.m., and so I am calling the regular meeting of the Wake County Board of Education to order. I would like to welcome those of you all who are watching at home and those of you all who are here in person. The Wake County Board of Education meetings are conducted for the purpose of carrying out the official business of the Wake County Public School System. The public is cordially invited to attend the board meetings and to observe the board as it conducts its official business. Any persons who willfully interrupt, disrupt, or cause any disturbance at an official meeting may be directed to leave by the presiding officer. Members of the board should show respect for speakers by refraining from loud comments and/or disruptions. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting will be subject to action in ordinance with General Statute 143-318.17. We have a quorum. I believe the vice chair is online, remote. And with that, if you all will please stand and join me in the pledge. Having some technical issues with my laptop, so now that we're back, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Board Member Edmonds. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Dr. Ng, giving us a moment to make sure that the vice chair is online. All those in favor of the motion, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Board Member Rice.
Aye.
Board Member Edmonds.
Aye.
Board Member Hegarty. Aye. Dr. Ng.
Aye.
Board Member Gordon.
Aye.
Dr. Joe.
Aye.
The chair also votes aye. Is the vice chair online?
Aye.
The vice chair is an aye. Tonight's meeting agenda has been approved. So we will now turn to our information item. And we will welcome the BAPS charity. And I will ask you to join us at the podium. And I have I have a resolution, then we can get started however order you feel comfortable with.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right.
Did you want to just start, or do you want me to?
Sure, I'll start with the resolution, then we can go forward, or however you want to. You can start, and
Let me just start. Yeah,
that'll
thank
work.
you.
Sets the tone for us.
Yes, wonderful. Well, I represent BAPS charities, and you guys have been a friend to us for a very, very long time. Thank you so much. We formed this partnership, and our chairperson is going to be talking shortly, kind of talk a little bit more about what we are doing here. But we formed this partnership a couple of years ago where we, saw the need, and, you guys extended your hand to what we were thinking that could become like a long-term partnership. And, you guys do phenomenally good with our schools. And as community members, we thought that, why not bring our charitable arm and support, our schools, the school districts, and we found many, many ways through which we can engage and also have, a direct connection with, you to have a direct connection with us to educate where the, shortfalls are, and from our point of view, what we can do to, uplift, the kids in our communities when they come over the weekend. But that's just a small glimpse of what we're doing over here. But this is the second year that we were fortunate to have you guys as our charitable, our beneficiary, and we are looking forward to many more years of this partnership where we can together bring the community up, from the standpoint of what you all are doing, as well as what BAPS Charities believes in to uplift community one by one. And, we'll see the effect of all of that in the future. But yeah, with that, let me give it back to you.
Great. Thank you for your remarks and for your partnership. And so the resolution reads as follow. A resolution honoring the BAPS charity for its outstanding service and community partnership. Whereas BAPS Charity is a global charitable organization dedicated to improving communities through health, education, environmental stewardship, humanitarian relief, and volunteer services. And whereas the annual BAPS Charity Walkathon brings together thousands of volunteers, families, community members in a shared commitment to serving others and strengthening local communities through philanthropy and civic engagement. And whereas BAPS Charity has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to the students and families of the Wake County Public Schools system by selecting the Wake County Public Schools system's Angel Fund as its beneficiary of its walkathon for the past 2 consecutive years. And whereas contributions to the Angel Fund helps to ensure that our students have access to nutritious meals, essential resources, allowing them to focus on learning and thriving both inside and outside the classroom. And whereas this partnership reflects the shared beliefs that no child should have to worry about where their next meal comes from, and that meeting students' basic needs is essential to academic success and overall well-being. And whereas the generosity, compassion, volunteer spirit demonstrated by BAPS charities exemplifies the values of service, kindness, and community that inspires others to make meaningful difference in the lives of children and families throughout Wake County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wake County Board of Education hereby express its sincere appreciation to the BAPS charities for its extraordinary generosity, steadfast partnership, dedication to supporting the students and families of the Wake County Public Schools system. Be it further resolved that the board commends the volunteer, organizers, sponsors, partners, participants, and BAPS Charity Walkathon for their continued commitment to improving the lives of others through service and charitable giving. Be it further resolved that the Wake County Board of Education extends its gratitude to the BAPS charities for helping ensure that Wake County students have access to nutritious and support they need to succeed, and looks forward to continuing this meaningful partnership in the years ahead. Adopted this 21st day of July, 2026, by the Wake County Board of Education, signed by the chair and the superintendent of the Board of Education in the Wake County Public Schools system. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
It's been moved by Board Member Hegarty. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Dr. Jobe. Any discussions on the motion? Board Member Hegarty.
Thank you, Chair Swanson. I want to thank you for introducing this motion because I think it's important that we recognize the community partnerships that we have. And this has always been such a great spirit of partnership working with BAPS charities and the joy of giving that they have through their organization. They incorporate many of the youth in the leadership of the project. At last year's event, I know Ms. Edmonds and Chair Swanson and Dr. Taylor and I were all able to go, and that we're able to see the children in leadership positions and seeing the results of their hard work come together. It not only had the impact of the monetary gift, but you could also see it instilling those values of service that are so important in our community. So you have my thanks, Chair Swanson. You have my thanks for bringing this up, and I just hope this partnership can continue. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those kind words.
Yes. All right.
I do have the check to give.
Yes, and then I need to carry the motion. So all those in favor of the motion, we will do a roll call vote, starting with Vice Chair Hershey.
Aye.
Dr. Jobe.
Aye.
Board Member Gordon.
Aye.
Dr. Ng.
Aye.
Board Member Hegarty.
Aye.
Board Member Edmonds.
Aye.
Board Member Rice.
Aye.
The chair also votes aye. The resolution and the motion passes. Thank you for your continued support and partnership.
Well, thank you.
I think you also have another moment there as well.
Yeah.
check it raised, but I don't know if you want to share how much the community raised for the Angel Fund.
Yes, we can do that. So we were able to raise 10,000, and we are finding more avenues by which we can contribute. But we did this last year. We had a similar amount, and we are looking forward to, like we mentioned, looking forward to this partnership. I know we didn't let you stay empty-handed while we were walking. We had so many ideas. We kept on giving you. So we want to have those opportunities where we can talk and see how we can. This is just one area, as board member Chris mentioned, right? There are other ways to actually collaborate, and we're looking forward to all of that. So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Oh. Perfect. All right. So we will now move to our next information item, which is under facilities. Dr. Taylor will provide update on the status of the construction as relates to the repairs at Creech Road Elementary School, Davis Drive Elementary School, and Durant Road Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to take this opportunity to update the board and the community on the status of the three schools just mentioned by the chair. But before I get into that, I do want to share with the community that students and staff, they have been safe at all three buildings, and that has been the case throughout this construction issue, and it remains true tonight. I want to make sure that I share that with our community. I also want to inform everybody that the decision to complete these repairs, that was my decision as superintendent in consultation with staff, and I wanted to be clear and on the record that this was a judgment call, and I made that call in terms of making a decision that's about the safety of students and children. And so for me, that is a single principle that we will always put first, that when it comes to having a building full of children and their safety, I will always err on the side of safety. And so we accept whatever the cost will be for that and the disruption that it may make. But safety of students has always been paramount for me, and they cannot learn if they're not safe. And so what I hope comes through tonight is how seriously we've addressed these issues and how hard the staff has been working to put these things in place so that children will be in a safe place when they return to school. And so tonight there are 5 things that I want to try to cover and cover those as efficiently as I can, knowing that the board has been here all day for a board retreat. I do want to talk about what we found, what it costs, and who's going to be doing the work. When the buildings will be ready. I know the community is anxiously awaiting to hear that. What happens if they aren't, and how we found out about this and how we're actually strengthening the process to ensure that these kinds of things are discovered in a timely manner and addressed in the right way. And so I do want to go back to what we found. And as we know, Creech Road is a building that was constructed in 1991, so it's roughly 35 years old. And so in 2024, we began to see the first signs of structural issues at the school. The staff identified what we recognize as cracks in a section of a classroom. And as always, our maintenance and operation team came out and they assessed those and they classified them as the kind of structural changes that buildings go through all the time as they age and settle. And so these were not issues that were considered as a huge safety risk. And so that was a reasonable call because every building moves, and the majority of us are homeowners, and we understand that buildings settle, and that has everything to do with the age of the material in the soil. So the cracking is normal, and that's something that's expected in buildings. So maintenance and operations did what they should have done, that they monitored those repairs, they monitored those cracks, they put in the repairs that were necessary, and they evaluated that as they were directed, and they continue to monitor that process through 2025 for the remainder of the 2024 year through 2025. And so when we got into the spring of 2026, That is where they recognized that those cracks began to expand, and they reported that to maintenance and operation. And so that changed in terms of the shift from a routine review to something that was more serious. And so maintenance and operations, they reassessed it, and they escalated that review now to facilities and operations, facilities and design and construction. And so I will talk more about that at the end of this update so we can understand what that process looks like. And FD&C brought in contracted structural engineers, and that is called the Atlas Group, and they were there to help do those assessments. And so what the engineers found was not about aging. It really was about original construction when the building was designed. And so what we recognize is that the building had not been constructed to the architect's drawings. And so specifically, we found issues with shear walls or deficiencies that were there. These are the walls that are in between classrooms. Rebar and the associated grouting that should have been in those walls was omitted. They also found issues with bond beam deficiencies, again, beam grouting and beam connection points that were omitted where the building connects to the roof. And finally, those deficiencies were found in about 12 classrooms and about 5 non-classroom spaces, including the front office, the cafeteria, kitchen stage, and the loading dock area. And so the recommendation from the engineers, it was not unambiguous. It was that the repair should be completed before students should occupy the building, but that administrative staff could remain in those administrative areas and address the things that they do during the summer, registering students, building schedules, things of that nature. Now, what did I do with that recommendation? Once I received the notice that there were structural issues at the school, I immediately got into my car, went to the school, met David Burnett, who's in facilities design and construction, Nate Slavic, who's in maintenance and operations, and we walked the building with Dr. Chu, who is the principal there, so I could visibly see with my own eyes what the issues were. And the next day we relocated our Read to Achieve camp to another school because we wanted to make sure we followed the recommendations of those engineers. But then we asked a harder question because we recognized that Creech was a prototype building, meaning that we had several buildings that were of the same design. And so because of that, we wanted to make sure that any other site that was a prototype, whether or not it had those same kind of structural issues. And so with that, we reviewed 3 other schools, and we found those same kind of deficiencies at Durant Road and also at Davis Drive Elementary. Durant Road was constructed in 1992 and Davis Drive in 1994. And so those deficiencies were sort of the same thing inside the walls. I do want to share that these kind of deficiencies that we recognize, these are not visible during a routine inspection. And so that means that X-raying of the wall will have to take place to understand and know that there are some deficiencies there. So nothing of that nature would have surfaced on the walkthrough. So obviously, as superintendent, I wanted to know about accountability, and this is a conversation that I had with our board attorney. I said, if this is something that we can consider as a structural issue, is there any recourse that we may have? And so with that, we know that there's about a 5 or 6 year window that you have to review construction issues or items, and so we were obviously well beyond that, in the 30-year range, if you will. And so I do want to make that plain that that is a question that I asked, and I know that the board wanted to know the same thing. You know, what repercussions do we have? And so with that, we had to have a quick and fast purpose of how we were going to address these issues. And the timeline to do that was very short. And as a result, we asked that the board have a special call meeting on the 13th of July where we got authority from the board for the superintendent to be able to issue a contract and engage in negotiations, because we understood that the timeline was short and we wanted to maximize every available day that we had to do this work. And so you did grant that authority on the 13th of July. And so as a result, we're now actually in buildings doing repairs, which I'll talk about momentarily. So obviously, everybody wanted to know what is the cost of these repairs. And so we were able to bring out engineers and general contractors, and we were able to get bids. With Durant Road, it was $1.73 million. Davis Drive, $1.71 million. Creech Road, $1.71 million. And that total amount was $5.31 million. There was an amendment that we had to make with the Creech Road because there was a little more significant damage that they needed to repair, which led now to about a $5.6 million cost. And so the general contractors that will be working at each school, New Atlantic Contracting will be at Creech Road, T.A. Ludding will be at Durant Road, and Consigli Construction will be at Davis Road. Now, once this work is completed, as a part of that process, there's also an independent verification process that we go through, and it is Terracon that will be doing this at Davis Drive, and S and M.E. will be doing it at Creech and Durant. And so I was glad to get an amendment from my staff that these verifications will cost about $49,000 per school for an additional $147,000. And that is about verifying that the work that was omitted was completed. Now, the first initial numbers that I had received were a typo, and it said $490,000 per school. I said, wait a minute. But luckily, John was able to catch that and correct that. And so we're not at $7 million, but at about $5.6 million. Now, the question has also come, where does this money come from? And so there's roughly $22 million that is available in our PREP budget. And PREP for our public means partial renovation improvement projects, and this is a part of our capital improvement plan, or CIP. And so when we think about the CIP budget, that is when we make big, major renovations for schools that cost several millions of dollars. We're not talking 3 or 4 or 5. It could be 40 or 50 or 60 million dollars. But with PREP projects, they're usually much smaller. Right now, again, $22 million in the budget. We have an annual allocation of around $20 million that we get as a part of an allocation from the CIP. And so the question in terms of what impact would that have? It will obviously mean that items that were a part of a PREP budget will now have to be adjusted. And so we will be bringing that back to the board probably in our August facility meeting, so we can have a conversation about what now has to be omitted and how we may look to make changes to address those most critical needs. And certainly working with county staff and Wake district staff, we can make decisions and changes in the CIP and in the PREP budget. So that's something that we know will have to come up. Now, I've been asked the question, why do we believe that this is going to take place? And why are we going to meet the completion dates that we've identified? So I want to say those completion dates for you. Durant Road, August the 17th, Creech Road, and Davis Drive, August the 21st. And so these dates actually improve from what we were initially told. We were told that it would take about 6 weeks, and the good news is that some of those repairs and some of the omissions that we originally thought were not there were actually in place. And so we've been able to get some really good assessments and refine the building model in terms of when we'll be able to complete the work. And so we now believe that we're going to stay within the range of where we are. I will tell you that we're confident about this work because of the bidding that we did. Contractors came out and they made bids based on the work that they committed to and that they saw. It was not conjecture, and so we do feel good about that. I also want to inform our constituents that these are contractual obligations that they made based on observations on site at the building, and because of that, we feel very confident that this work is going to be completed. What we will also do is to make sure that we give the board an update about every 5 days. There's going to be a landing page on our website for FD&C where anybody in the community can go and see the update that we have. Anything that might be critical that happens within those 5 days, we'll make sure that we lift that up to the board as well. But with that, we feel confident that this work is going to be completed on time and by schedule, and those contractors have committed to working a 7-day work schedule with multiple crews and multiple shifts. And so they know and understand how important this work is. These are our general contractors that we've worked with in the past, and so we feel very confident about them completing the work. Now, having said that, I also want to share some brief information about contingency plans. And for me, hope is not a plan. We need to have something that we know is concrete. I will say that in developing contingency plans, this was the first thing that staff began to think about. What will we need to do if we can't be in these buildings at the appointed time? Now, the difficult part about that is that it's hard to make contingency plans when you don't have concrete information. So once we got information in terms of what the time frame might be, then we were able to now develop some really concrete plans, and those were centered around attendance and locations, teacher work days, child nutrition, and transportation. All of those things are huge components in terms of how school operates. And so the first and the hardest was obviously Durant Road. So you're talking about a track 4 school that returns on July the 30th with students, and that is a really close time. And so that was a hard lift for what I call the McCabe team. This is Chris McCabe and Dr. Council, who are our area superintendents. And so they've done the work to meter this plan out. And so they will start at Abbott's Creek, which is directly across the street. And so that helps resolve a lot of logistical problems. They are going to occupy the entire building starting on tomorrow, which is July the 22nd. I do believe the day is the 21st, so that is tomorrow, all the way through August the 14th. The administrative staff, they've already begun their relocation to the building, and staff work days will begin tomorrow on the 22nd. Obviously, with the pre-K, they're going to operate on the delayed opening. We're going to do some virtual orientation with the parents and do some home visits and make sure there's other communication that we have. For Mr. Tonkin, our transportation director, there is no change. Buses will turn right instead of turning left, or vice versa, left instead of turning right, depending on the direction that they're coming. The child nutrition staff will also relocate to Abbott's Creek, and they will be able, we're talking about the Durant Road child nutrition staff, and so they will be there to prepare food and do all of those things that are necessary. Now, if the construction runs long, then we will draw on some of our bank days. We have about 6 bank days, 5 remote instructional days, and 6 teacher work days that run throughout the year. And so those are the beginning contingency plans, and if we fall within the time frame that we have been allotted, then this will be zero impact to the Abbott's Creek School. So we look at that as a blessing. With the Creech Road, they are also on track, and this is what I call the Overman and Inns team, our area superintendents. And so students are scheduled to return on August the 24th, and the completion work is scheduled for August the 21st, so we do expect a normal start. Staff work days will begin on August the 17th, and this will be at the Garner 9th grade center. If there is a short-term delay, then again we will rely on calendar modification and use bank days and work days. If for some reason there is a long-term delay that goes far beyond what we anticipate, then we do have a transition that's scheduled for the Garner 9th grade center. Currently this is where the Crossroads Flex will be, but they have reviewed the plans, and the building is able to accommodate all of the students in both areas. Jason Tompkins, the transportation director, he will have transportation routes already developed in case we have to make that pivot, and so we're going to have those ready long before we need those. And in terms of the child nutrition staff, they will also be able to relocate to the Garner 9th grade center and prepare meals there. With Davis Drive, they are also on track for a regular start, but they have what we have identified as a much harder Plan B. And this is the Chavis team, Dr. Chavis, our area superintendent. So again, students are scheduled to return on the 24th, with the completion on August the 21st, so we do expect a normal start. And so I'll be candid with the fallback that is generally way more difficult, and that is about first, the first wave is using bank days and teacher work days to absorb what would be a shorter delay. If for some reason there's a much longer delay, then we're developing plans to be at the Morrisville High School type site. And so the team is actively working what we know are a number of challenges, which makes this plan be much harder. Obviously, parking would be an issue. The parking deck is still under construction, and so we will be working to shuttle staff from an on-site position at Paramount Parkway using a shuttle. We also know that our WESIP students are there, and all of the ongoing construction that is there. Classroom fit is obviously a problem because we're talking about classrooms that are much smaller, a high school classroom versus an elementary classroom. Elementary classrooms usually have around, well, I know it's over 1,000 feet. I wanted to say 1,400 square feet. Is that 2,000 square?
1,200 for kindergarten, first grade.
Okay, 1,200, so I was about $200, so thanks for that. And so that's much different. Also, kindergarten, first grade students have to be on the first level, and second grade can go up to the second level. Obviously, there's IT infrastructure that's being put in place, heightened scale of kitchen serving lines, handrails, drop-off and pick-up points. These are all the things that we know would make the Plan B for Davis Drive much more difficult. But if we stay on track with the construction and the repairs that are going now, then we feel very confident that we will not have to use these plans. And so those are the contingency plans, and I appreciate the work that staff has done to make sure those come to fruition. Now, the last thing I want to share, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you, but it is about the process and whether or not that process works. And to me, the process has worked because things were escalated at the right time. We engaged engineers at the right time, and we reacted doing the work to not put a single student in harm's way. And so because the process worked the first time, that does not mean that it doesn't have to be reviewed, and that's what we will continually do. And so I kind of walk you through the steps. And the first is really about identification. And most identification work is done by maintenance and operations staff when they do routine evaluations at a school or do work at a school. So they may go out to repair a sink, and they may see a crack or something in the structure. So they are really the first line in terms of identifying issues that come into a school. We also get work orders or communications from a school when they recognize something. And so it is about what is it that we see that is a problem. That could be anything from doors or windows that suddenly stick or won't latch, expanding cracks that we see in walls, visible separations in building components, uneven sloping on floors, all of those things that we recognize to cause us to have an additional evaluation because we see something that's taking place in the building. So that is about the initial maintenance assessment and what they do in terms of visual assessments and repairs. They document that through photographs or any other kind of thing that they need to make sure that they have good, relevant information about issues that they see in the building. And so remember that the maintenance personnel, they are not responsible for determining structural integrity. If something gets to the point to where they believe an additional assessment is needed, that is when it is referred to the facilities design and construction team, and then they come out, do additional assessments. If necessary, as we did in this instance, bring out structural engineers who have special skill sets to perform that work, and then they go through the process of reviewing and determining what kind of structural repairs are necessary. And so with that, they develop a corrective action plan, and then we attend to those repairs. I do again want to reaffirm that this process worked the way that it was supposed to. Remember that we see cracks in buildings all the time. That does not mean that there's a structural issue, and we go out and we evaluate those. But at any point, we recognize that there's a safety issue, that structural repairs are required that are not a part of routine maintenance by maintenance and operations, then we make sure that we address those. And so again, I'll end with that these 3 buildings will be repaired at a cost of $5.6 million. Repair is underway and crews are working as we talk. Durant Road is scheduled to open on August the 17th, and Davis Drive and Creech Road on August the 21st. Every school has a plan, and every school has a plan if that contingency fails. Again, we will provide those updates every 5 days, and just rest assured that our duty is to find these kind of problems and make sure we put in the efforts to repair those so that students will be safe when they come to school. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, for those updates, and to your staff for doing the hard work. I don't think any of this we expected, but it's great to see that, you all were able to pivot and ensure that teaching and learning could still take place, and also very grateful that no one was in the building when these instances occurred, because that would have been a whole other story that we do not want to have to deal with. And so with that, I'll stop to see if any board members has any questions and go from there. Board Member Rice.
First, I want to say thank you to Dr. Taylor and staff about the work that they did diligently and as quickly as a turnaround as they could do. While you did call us to some special meetings that were necessary in the midst of our summer and had to transition schedules, it was necessary for the safety and the security of our students and our staff, right, that are doing. And so I just wanted to thank staff and students for their cooperation of having to transition within the schools and change spaces that had already been set for the summer. But I specifically wanted to make sure that I raised the thanks to the facilities team, our superintendent, and all that had to participate in making sure that we had a plan that answered our questions that we had outside of our meeting, so that we could best understand how to make the decision for the superintendent to be able to move and do what he needed to do. And thank you for sharing how much was actually in the print budget, and for not spending it all with the blank check. Thank you so very much for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Board Member Haggerty.
Thank you, Chair Swanson. And this may actually be a question for Attorney Malone. So, Attorney Malone, one of the things we've heard about is that it sounds like these repairs are necessary due to structural flaws that were discovered. The actual work took place decades ago, and the thought that it would be outside of our the statute of limitations, the law that limits how long we have before we can file a lawsuit. But I was curious, in some cases, the standard is not based on when the injury or when the tort occurred, but it's based on when someone could reasonably discover that. I believe you've already done this analysis, but just so the public knows and understands, can you explain your analysis?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So you're correct. There are 2 statutes. One is the statute of limitations, and one is the statute of repose. The statute of limitations is the one that you're speaking of now, which it typically runs from when you learn of an issue. So I don't know why, but I like to use medical malpractice for this example. Doctor leaves a sponge in you. You don't know the sponge is there for some period of time. Once you find out that the sponge is in your body, you have 3 years from that time. Sorry, Dr. Dean. You have 3 years from that time to file your lawsuit against the doctor alleging malpractice. However, there's also what they call a statute of repose. The statute of repose is the outside amount of time within which you must bring your claim regardless of when you find out about it. And that is 6 years for construction projects. So in a situation like this, I mean, if you find out about a claim in year 5, while you would normally have 3 years to bring that claim, you have to bring that claim within the 6-year statute of repose, so you'd have to bring it within a year. There is, so it used to be many years ago, back in the 90s-ish, maybe early 2000s, the law used to be that the statute of repose, didn't run against the king, as they say, so the statute of repose would not run against the state. Well, let me back up. So the statute of limitations, while it applies to most of North Carolina, it does not apply to public bodies. So the 3-year statute of limitations is not something that runs against public school systems. And the statute of repose used to not run against public school systems until, I want to say, late 90s, early 2000s. Rowan County sued an asbestos company for the asbestos that they had to remove from a building that was installed 40, 50 years earlier. The asbestos, the board prevailed on the suit, and they got appealed, and the manufacturer argued the statute of repose. The court ruled that the statute of repose did not run against public entities, and they asked the legislature, they said to the legislature, if you don't like this result, you need to fix it. And the legislature, 2 years later, revised the statute of repose to say that it does now run against public entities, and the only real exception now to that 6-year statute of repose is a case of fraud or a case of willful and wanton negligence. So what I've discussed with staff and what we're looking into is whether or not there's an argument that given how obvious some of these defects may have been, was it willful and wanton negligence for the contractor to have not completed this work as installed? And that's kind of what we're trying to work through at the moment.
Thank you, Attorney Malone. And so, Chair Swanson, I want to thank you for the grace on the questioning, because I think a lot of us are concerned, one, it's a school, it's the safety of children, but anytime a public building is constructed with taxpayer dollars, and anytime there is what appears to be, clear negligence, it may not, I guess it's arguable whether it rises to that willful and wanton standard, should there be an opportunity for recovery? Not automatic, just an opportunity, a forum to be able to present your case, to be able to present your evidence and show that this is something that the contractor or the architect or whomever it was knew or should have reasonably known that there was a problem, and that had been the law of the land. But as Attorney Malone described, that has been changed. So the question would be then, as we work with our local lawmakers and our legislators, they had this decision within their power, within their purview. It had all existed one way as a protection of public resources and public dollars. Is this something they might be willing to revisit and look at that statute of repose and when it applies? And I would argue not just for public schools, but for public hospitals, any building where there's been an investment of public dollars. I think, again, it's not saying that there's an automatic recovery, but I think there should be the argument that each case should at least have the opportunity to be presented. So as we discuss this, and before we leave it, again, I don't question the superintendent's plan. I think we've moved forward in the right direction. I'm glad to see these timelines and these contingency plans. But you never know when the next flaw could be discovered, where we've done our due diligence, but because if something has been sealed up somewhere, we can't discover it until there is a problem. And in those cases, should we have the opportunity to be able to seek a resolution on it? So I just wanted to suggest that to you and try to keep that within this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Reed?
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Taylor and Mr. Burnett, for just giving us the full updates and also the detailed action plan you have. One question I have, I don't know if you're ready to respond today or maybe in an update. how would you handle our special needs students in the 3 schools, especially since, routine is very important to our students, and that change may have some impact on how the teachers handle the situation with them, as well as just the environmental changes that may have a certain amount of difficulty for some of our students. So, thank you.
Yes. So with Durant Road, that is a much easier issue to deal with because they will be in Abbots Creek that will have all the facilities to address those student needs. But I agree 100% that certain students are changed in even the physical environment, going from one class to another. That's going to be an issue, and so we know that staff will be ready to intervene on the behalf of those students. And again, when we think about having to pivot to a Morrisville High School, it even exacerbates it more. And so that's where I think I'm as proud of staff who consistently step up to make sure they meet the needs of the students. But again, that's something that I'll make sure that the contingency teams address in their plans as well, not just the physical space, but student needs as well. So thank you for that. We'll add that as an update as well.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing or seeing none, we will now move to our public comments. Students will be heard first, followed by speakers commenting on tonight's agenda, and then those speakers commenting on other topics. Only the person speaking at the podium will be able to stand. Again, all attendees that are not speaking are to remain seated. Concerns related to personnel issues or student matters may be addressed to our applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, or any other applicable policies. The board welcomes all viewpoints, including criticisms directed at substantive ideas, actions, and/or procedures. However, the board public comment policy also requires that order and decorum must be maintained. In the interest of maintaining order and decorum, speakers are encouraged to address their comments to the Board of Education and to refrain from personal attacks, insults directed at individual board members or staff members, or even the general public. All commenters are asked to remember that children are often attending these meetings and to keep their comments both substantive and civil. Please remain at the podium during your speaking time. Any materials that you wish to share, you can place those at the table that's behind the board attorney, Mr. Malone, either before or after your comments. During the comments, you may speak up to 3 minutes. Please note that the microphones are adjustable and when you begin, a green light will illuminate, showing that your 3 minutes have begun. Followed by a yellow light with an audible tone indicating that there's 30 seconds remaining in your time, and when your time is up, you will see a red light and hear another audible tone. When your time is up, the next speaker will be called to the podium. Speakers are asked to respect the time limit and speak no more than 3 minutes. So we will start with our first speaker, if we can have the list displayed, and that is the particular order that we will go in with our students who are off agenda, our 3 students, followed by our off agenda non-student speakers, and that is the order that we will proceed through public comment. So if our first student speaker is here, please welcome to the podium. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Raina Gorthy, and I'm a senior at Green Level High School. If you've asked every single high schooler in Wake County whether they use AI for school, chances are the numbers are around 80%. AI is moving into our entertainment, our workforce, and our education, and so much more. A 2025 Gallup and Walton Family Foundation survey found that students at school that allow AI use feel far more prepared for life after graduation, 57% versus just 32%. Excluding students from learning this generation's most powerful tool carries a far greater risk than the alternative. Earlier this year, I interviewed 16 students across Wake County as a part of my project for AP Lang, where I had the privilege of working with Dr. Job and speaking to Dr. Taylor. Their answers did not surprise me. Students use it to clear mundane, repetitive tasks off their plate so they can focus on coursework, extracurriculars, and even family. That is both a gift and a danger. It frees up time for critical thinking and creativity schools should be already building, but hands students a powerful tool with no guidance and no guardrails, and it shapes how they use it, misuse it for life. That is why this county needs one clear, unified standard. The same guidelines on ethical versus unethical AI use in every single Wake County school, maybe even reflecting AI skills that the workforce already demands. Right now, even different teachers at my school decide which AI tools they allow in their classrooms, so a student's responsibilities and rights can change completely by just walking onto a different floor. AI literacy should start in maybe middle school, where students are already balancing multiple classes and outside demands, then sharpen in high school, get more specific around organization, research, and workplace readiness, backed by one firm line between responsible use and an offense, with similar consequences on every campus in the county. But every one of you knows a real challenge. AI does not sit in one place long enough for policy to catch up. I am asking this board to build some kind of an advisory group where students and teachers, the ones actually using these tools every day, living in the moment, and are working around the changes that AI is going through, and change them with the redrafting AI training programs every single year to meet the changing demands. This board is close to finalizing a policy that will shape more than 160,000 students, and it cannot know what is happening in every hallway without the people actually living it. Giving students and staff a real seat at the table is not symbolic. It is how this board stays honest about what is happening in our schools instead of guessing. Giving students a voice in the process, not just a warning after the fact. We are not only the ones that the policy will affect, we are the ones that will tell you exactly what it needs to say and how it's going to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker, we'll hear from our next speaker. All right, if Anaya is not in the building, we will turn to our next speaker.
Can I just start?
Absolutely.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Aditya Bursetti, and I'm a rising junior at Green Hope High School. I'm here on behalf of Rookie Rackets, which is a nonprofit formed by Wake County high schoolers to make badminton accessible through free, all-inclusive workshops. Thank you, Chairman, for personally inviting me here to speak tonight. Our core team of Rookie Rackets is 6 coaches from different Wake County high schools. We've been trained professionally for 4 to 5 years and have played competitive badminton for about 6. Here's why we're here. Many teachers and students in Wayne County don't even know that badminton exists. Badminton has a massive worldwide presence, played by millions of kids in China, Indonesia, and India, and across Europe and countries like Denmark and England. States like California, Texas, and New York already offer badminton as a school sport, but North Carolina doesn't, and many students here have never even picked up a racket. We feel that this is a gap that's worth closing, because badminton is one of the most welcoming sports out there. A badminton racket is a fraction of the weight of a tennis racket, and a beginner to badminton can be playing a real rally within minutes of picking up a racket. The benefits go beyond this. Badminton builds hand-eye coordination, fitness, fast decision-making, and it also teaches focus and sportsmanship. We've already run beginner clinics at TMSA Elementary and Carpenter Elementary. We've brought our own equipment, and we got kids rallying by the end of the very first session. Our kids kept asking when we'd be back, and many of them kept practicing badminton at home after we left. We're also partnering with the Raleigh Boys Club and Our Journey, an organization that supports neurodivergent kids, to reach students outside of school walls too. Here's a problem that we're encountering. Many schools are hesitant to add a new program at all, or they're worried about liability, staffing, or fit. Even the schools that are excited about our programs, they don't have the time to build a new system just to bring us in. That's why we're asking for your partnership in bringing badminton into Wake County schools as an official program. We have 2 asks. Number 1, approve Rookie Rackets as an official after-school program for the schools that are interested. Number 2, give us after-hours access to school gyms for free community workshops and inter-school competitions. We'll bring every racket, shuttlecock, and net. Kids just have to show up. Also, we run fundraising tournaments, and a portion of everything we raise goes straight back to Wake County schools. So, to recap, free equipment, free coaching, a new activity for students, and donations back to Wake County schools, all at no cost to run. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We will turn to our first non-student, off-agenda spokesperson or commenter. Sorry, good evening, Mr. Deaton. You know the routine. Good to see you.
The News and Observer reported in June that WCPSS has announced $2.2 million in legal settlements for 20 special education lawsuits since January 2025, including one for $610,000. At the time, I was not able to find out what type of case the latter settlement was for, even with the help of a lawyer. From the context of the article, I suspect the reporter found out what it was for only because the attorney told him. According to NC General Statute and WCPSS Policy 8341, the board is required to publicly announce legal settlements, and the dollar amounts do appear in these meeting agendas. But it's not very informative if the public is not even told what kind of case the settlement is for. We all understand the need to maintain confidentiality whenever minors are involved, but the public needs to know the broad categories of the settlements, whether they are workplace injuries, contract disputes, wrongful termination, abuse, or special ed, or whatever, in order that attention may be focused on areas that require more vigilance and need improvement. I do not necessarily blame the board that these special ed lawsuits occurred, because I don't know the recurring patterns in all the cases, and I sympathize with the challenges you have to meet special education needs, especially when behavior issues are involved. But my point is that making the scope of the problem public, including what caused all these lawsuits, will help focus attention on ways to keep these problems from happening. I commend the board for listening to feedback and withdrawing the proposal to eliminate 130 special ed positions. On the other hand, I have addressed the board a number of times about the patterns in employee sexual misconduct, and I don't think the preventive measures are strong enough in policy, training, and school culture. Thank you.
All right, we'll hear from our next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Sanderson. I'm the parent of a future Wake County Public School System student and the founder of CARE, Community Advocates for Responsible EdTech. I'm here tonight on behalf of over 160 local parents, teachers, and students who are deeply concerned about the widespread use of AI in our schools. You all have a copy of our petition. However, I want to be clear that we are not advocating for a total, permanent ban of AI. Our request is only that AI is temporarily removed from student devices while the district develops and implements an evidence-based policy that outlines how students can use the technology in a way that enhances their learning and overall well-being. We have two primary reasons for this request. The first is student safety and well-being. Rather than turning to teachers, parents, and other students for support in problem-solving and social navigation, children are turning to AI and becoming increasingly more isolated. Children are forming so-called friendships and even romantic relationships with AI chatbots. In fact, the Conmigo AI tool recently approved by the North Carolina legislature addresses students as "my dear friend." We know that the more time a child spends on devices, the less able they are to cope emotionally with social pressures, and in turn, the more they rely on tools like AI to support their emotional well-being. This reliance exposes children to huge risks for psychosocial damage and even loss of life, as a new report shows that across Google AI tools, the AI fails to identify a child in crisis up to 42% of the time. By putting AI tools in the hands of students with no regulation, we are facilitating this cycle and risking our children's well-being every single day. Second is student learning outcomes and preparation for life after school. Frequent use of AI undermines a student's ability to think critically and develop their reasoning abilities, the very essence of education. While AI can be a useful tool when implemented in alignment with human-centered curriculum and used in a controlled, structured environment, widespread, unintentional use of AI is detrimental to student learning. In a systematic review of over 400 studies, Brookings found that the risks of AI to students outweigh the benefits, primarily because, quote, "these risks undermine children's foundational development." While the argument has been made that students must learn AI to be prepared for college and future workplaces, we are seeing university after university ban the use of AI, and the only skill we know for sure that students will need to be successful in whatever career they choose is the ability to think critically and adapt. By permitting widespread, unintentional use of AI, we are robbing them of that skill set. There are countless other reasons to evaluate our use of AI in schools, including fiscal responsibility, privacy, and the security of the county against potential lawsuits. We urge you to temporarily remove generative AI tools from student devices until an evidence-based AI use policy is passed. We believe that this is the most responsible, ethical, and student-centered path forward, and I hope you will as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll turn to our next speaker.
Hi, I'm Becky Lou Hobbs. In early July, the governor's veto was overridden and SB 227 became law, a law to eliminate DEI in public education. This law is to ensure that students, teachers, administrators, and school employees recognize the equality and rights of all people. SB 227 establishes clear boundaries. Public schools may not discriminate based on classifications. Public schools may not require or compel students or employees to accept divisive concepts or promote them through classroom instruction or training. Public schools may not maintain offices, positions, or personnel whose purpose is to advance DEI ideology. You stress diversity over achievement. Students should be judged on their character, effort, and achievement, not demographic groups to which they belong. Teachers should be trained to educate students, not sort them into categories of privilege, oppression, or identity. You look at everything through an equity lens. Equity means equal outcome, but the only way to achieve equal outcome is to hold some children back while falsely inflating others. But the focus should be on equality. In other words, equal opportunity to learn, to grow, and to achieve. You've claimed to be inclusive. How inclusive was it when my children were denied access in elementary to a sports program because of their race? How inclusive was it when my child's teacher referred to settlers as invaders? And how inclusive is it when teachers whisper about issues because they're afraid of the administration? SB 227 requires more than cosmetic changes. It doesn't mean you just remove the equity webpage. It doesn't mean you just rename the Department of Equity Affairs. And it doesn't mean you just change job titles. This law requires a change in Wake County Schools' focus, a paradigm shift, a change from diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives woven throughout the strategic plan, policies, professional development, staffing decisions, and instructional practices. A change back to focusing on the real purpose of education, academics, reading, math, science, history. Parents deserve to know how the district intends to comply with the law, what changes will be made to the strategic plan, and how soon. What training programs changes will be made. How will the district ensure compliance? We deserve transparency, and this law deserves more than just a rebranding exercise.
All right, we'll turn to our final speaker.
Good evening. My name is Shara, and I'm the parent of a rising 8th grader and rising 6th grader in Wake County. I'm here tonight because over the past several months, I've discovered a breakdown in our instructional oversight process that should concern parents and members of the board. The entire 7th grade at my son's school was taught about one of the world's most complex and politically sensitive topics using a lesson created under the 2010 Social Studies standards. These standards have since been revised multiple times, more recently in 2021 and again this past spring, if I understood correctly. The district confirmed to me in writing that these materials were removed from district curriculum platform years ago because they were no longer aligned with current standards, yet they continued to be taught. I also learned that once outdated materials leave the district's official curriculum, they can simply become supplemental resources, allowing them to remain in school or teacher files without any central oversight. This creates a loophole where outdated, unreviewed, or even politically charged materials can continue reaching students long after the district has abandoned them. When I met with the principal and assistant principal a few months before this lesson was taught, I asked specifically if it would be taught, and they both told me that they didn't think so. If school leadership is unaware that a very sensitive topic is being presented, it raises an important question. Who is responsible for ensuring these lessons are accurate, balanced, age-appropriate, and aligned with current district expectations? The lesson also included an unauthorized YouTube video that represented only one perspective on an ongoing international conflict. Remarkably, that video, available for over a decade, disappeared the day after I began asking questions about it. This is not about avoiding difficult history or preventing students from discussing complex issues. Students should study them, but schools should teach students how to think and not what to think. Sensitive subjects should be taught with accurate, current, age-appropriate materials that help students examine evidence, understand context, and reach informed conclusions. My request tonight is simple. Please review whether the district's current policies provide sufficient oversight when instructional materials transition from official curriculum to supplemental status. Please consider whether historically and politically sensitive topics deserve an enhanced review process and district-approved instructional resources. And please ensure that parents can have confidence that lessons on issues involving religion, ethnicity, genocide, and ongoing international conflicts are taught thoughtfully, consistently, and with appropriate oversight. This is bigger than one lesson, one school, or one topic. It's about restoring trust in the institutional process for every family. Thank you.
Thank you. And before you leave, Dr. Hill, will you be able to meet with her and whichever area superintendent will oversees your child's school? So staff looks like Mr. McCabe and Dr. Hill will be meeting with you. Thank you. So that concludes tonight's public comments, and Dr. Hill, the student as well, if you'll be able to meet with the student also. Thank you. That concludes our public comment. At this point, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion? It's a motion by Board Member Edmonds, seconded by Board Member Hegarty. Any discussion regarding the motion on the floor? Hearing or seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with the Vice Chair.
Aye. Oh, sorry.
Yep. So aye, an eager aye. Dr. Joe?
Aye.
Board Member Gordon?
Aye.
Dr. Ng?
Aye.
Board Member Hegarty?
Aye.
Board Member Edmonds?
Aye.
Board Member Rice? Aye. The Chair also votes aye. The motion passes unanimously. We will now turn to our action item for the night. We'll welcome our Chief Communications Officer, Ms. Lisa Luton, to talk about our 50th anniversary of the merger of the Wake County Public Schools System. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Swanson and members of the board. This year marks the 50 years since the Raleigh City Schools and the Wake County Schools merged to create one unified school system. Tonight, we're going to do two things. I'll briefly preview how we plan to celebrate this milestone, and then we'll formally begin our anniversary year by reading a resolution marking the anniversary together. Buckle up. Our celebration is going to be a very long one. To take advantage of the excitement and attention that comes with the back-to-school season, we're going to kick off the campaign at the beginning of the traditional calendar school year. I learned a lot about our anniversary and our history. One of the things I learned is that the Wake Weekly has been around for a very long time. They published an article about our first day of school. I don't know why I thought it was a new publication. It was very wrong. It was founded in the 40s. But they did a report of the first day of school, and they reported that the official first day of school was Monday, August 30th. Fun fact, that first day of school on Monday was a half-day orientation. Students were invited to come in after lunch, and for those students who could not attend the half-day orientation, most of the schools offered an evening orientation for them. I found it lovely to think about the fact that removing barriers to family engagement has been a part of our history since day one. Our celebration will continue throughout the school year and lead into another important milestone, the 50th anniversary of our magnet school history in 2027. So we've got 2 years of fun. Earlier this year, board members submitted names of community members who could help guide this work. In August, we will invite those individuals to join our 50th Anniversary Community Advisory Committee. That committee will ensure that our celebrations are thoughtfully considering the full history of the district, reflect the experiences and perspectives of our community, and appropriately honor those people who helped shape our history. Collectively, as a community, we're going to celebrate in 4 ways. We're going to celebrate, first of all, together and in partnership with community organizations. We have plans for several in-person events, gatherings that will create opportunities for fellowship, to listen to community members, reflect on our history, and opportunities to honor those that we affectionately call our trailblazers. We'll share save the dates for those events soon. We're going to celebrate through service again and again. When people talk about our history and their experiences in our schools, they center those conversations around community, and a community that feels a lot of pride and responsibility for our schools. Service has always been one of the ways that we demonstrate that commitment, and so through 50 Acts of Kindness for 50 years, we're going to invite students, staff, families, community partners, alumni to celebrate our schools through service and volunteerism. Third, we're going to celebrate through giving. Through our 50 Forward campaign, we are working right now on building infrastructure. You all have heard a little bit about that, to make it easier for our community members to give. And so what we will do is launch that infrastructure and then invite community members to give in honor of schools, an educator, a meaningful memory. We have some more news to share that we're working on, and so we will share more news about that at a later date with the board. And then finally, and for I think most of us most importantly, the heart of our celebration will be through storytelling. Through 50 stories for 50 years, we're going to center our storytelling through students. So students will work with their teachers to research either the history of their school or histories of schools in their area. They will conduct first-person research, interview community members, and share those stories both with their schools, and then we will also launch a website portal where we will archive all of those stories so that the community can enjoy and read those for prosperity. We're going to develop a list of, we have begun developing a list of community contacts. So a lot of folks have reached out to us and said, I have a story to tell. So we will launch a form where folks will be able to submit their name, inviting people to volunteer. So if you're listening tonight and you have a story to share or contact, we want to hear from you. We will spend a lot of time this year talking through those, but before we begin celebrating, it's important to formally recognize what this anniversary represents. This brings us to our resolution, and in an appreciative nod to all of the educators in the room who have reminded me that I don't need to stand up and talk to everybody, we're going to participate in a classic read aloud. So I'm going to ask each board member to take turns reading a section of the resolution commemorating the 50th anniversary of the merger. You have the resolution in front of you. I will begin, and then I will turn to Dr. Job, and we will continue around to the table. Are you all ready? Resolution commemorating the 50th anniversary of the merger that created the Wake County Public School System.
Whereas in 1975, the Raleigh City Board of Education and the Wake County Board of Education approved a plan to consolidate their two school systems, and the North Carolina General Assembly enacted Chapter 717 to authorize the merger effective July 1st, 1976. And
whereas on July 1st, 1976, approximately 20,000 students from Raleigh City Schools and 33,000 students from the Wake County Schools came together to form the Wake County Public School System, a unified district serving approximately 53,000 students. And whereas the merger was a bold act of local leadership rooted in the belief that investing in the success of every child strengthens the future of the entire community. And
whereas the merger advanced the ongoing work of school integration and educational equity, building on the courage of students and families who challenged segregation and the service of educators, school employees, public officials, civic leaders, and community advocates who open doors of opportunity. And
whereas within 2 years of the merger, WCPSS introduced the first magnet programs and has continued to expand educational opportunities through innovative programs designed to help students discover their strengths and prepare for their futures. And whereas during the past 5 decades, WCPSS has grown from approximately 53,000 students to more than 161,000 students across 203 schools, while remaining a vital part of Wake County's growth, prosperity, and quality of life. And
whereas generations of students, alumni, educators, employees, families, board members, elected officials, community partners have shaped the district and sustained its commitment to excellence and opportunity. And
whereas the 50th anniversary offers an opportunity to honor the people who built and strengthened WCPSS, reflect on its history, celebrate shared progress, and inspire the community to help write the next chapter of public education in Wake County. Now, therefore, be it.
Resolved that the Wake County Board of Education hereby commemorates the 50th anniversary of the July 1st, 1976 merger of Raleigh City Schools and Wake County Schools, and recognizes 2026 as a year to honor the history, people, and impact of the Wake County Public School System. And be it further
Resolved that the board expresses its gratitude to the students, alumni, families, educators, employees, board members, public officials, and community partners whose courage, service, and support have sustained public education in Wake County during the past 50 years, and be it further
Resolved that the board encourages schools and the broader community to participate in anniversary events, services, storytelling, and learning that honor has shared legacy and deepened support for public education. And be it further resolved that the board renews its commitment to ensuring that every student is prepared to reach their full potential and lead productive lives in a complex and changing world, carrying forward the promise of unity, excellence, and opportunity in the next 50 years, approved and adopted this 21st day of July 2026.
Signed, Tyler J. Swanson, Chair, and Superintendent Taylor. And I think we paused to sign.
yes, and we'll also have the board members sign this as well, so we can display this. One of these copies will be displayed on somewhere on the outside, and one for our official records. And with that, I will pause to entertain a motion to adopt and approve the 50th anniversary resolution.
Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion that we adopt and approve the 50th anniversary of the merger of the Wake County Public School System.
It's the motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Board Member Gordon. All those in favor, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Board Member Rice.
Aye.
Board Member Edmonds.
Aye.
Board Member Hegarty.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hershey.
Aye.
Dr. Ing, sorry.
Aye.
Board Member Gordon.
Aye.
Dr. Joe.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion is adopted and it passes unanimously.
I'll close out by thanking you all for your time today and for your service to our community. We look forward to celebrating with our students, staff, alumni, family, community partners, and to carrying this legacy forward for the next 50 years.
Thank you. All right. So we will now turn to our next action item, coming from the Facilities and Design and Construction. Dr. Taylor, will that be you or Mr. Burnett?
Actually, be me and Mr. Malone. And so with this, we have a contract for software license renewal with Kahua Incorporated, and the amount is $846,138. There are some negotiation terms that were added to the contract, and we want to be able to negotiate those final terms in that contract. And so, Attorney Malone, I'll allow you to bring home the particulars.
Yeah, sure. So when we got the contract, we normally, when your forms are used, we just look at changes to the form. In this particular one, when it was routing through DocuSign and I saw the backup materials, there were some standard Kahua terms that were attached to this agreement, which were different from the ones that were attached in 2021-ish, whenever you entered into this the first time. And we're asking that everybody's comfortable with the amount and obviously your form agreement, but we'd like you to approve it subject to Dr. Taylor and our review of or negotiation of some acceptable terms to be added to the agreement. I don't anticipate a problem. I think we'll just maybe even go back to the 2021 terms. But this would avoid having to pull this from the agenda and bringing it back in August, especially given that the current license agreement ends July 31st.
Is there a motion?
Chair Swanson, move to adopt the license renewal, the action item in facilities.
Second.
So there's a motion by Board Member Edmonds to approve the Kahua Inc. software license renewal from 2026 to 2029. It's been seconded by Board Member Hegarty. Any discussion on the motion that is on the floor? All right, hearing or seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will start with Board Member Hegarty and work our way around.
Vote aye.
All right, Board Member Edmonds?
Aye.
Board Member Rice? Aye. Dr. Jobe?
Aye.
Board Member Gordon?
Aye.
Dr. Ng?
Aye.
Vice Chair Hershey?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The motion passes unanimously. So we will now turn to our last information items on our agenda, which is the superintendent comments, followed by board member comments. Dr. Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, good evening. I'd first like to recognize the outstanding educators who received grants this year through our 4C Grant Fund. The fund invests in teacher-led projects that help students develop the all-important skills of creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. Here's how this year's winners will be putting this funding to good use. Weatherstone Elementary's Allen Brown will transform an unused courtyard into the Courtyard Commons, creating an outdoor learning environment where students explore STEM, sustainability, and environmental science through hands-on experiences. At Walnut Creek Elementary, Kristen Baker and Mary Cope are reimagining an outdoor space as a classroom, which will strengthen both academic skills and students' social, emotional development. Chris Labuda's project at Athens Drive Magnet High School will have students programming drones and robots to address real-world challenges in areas such as healthcare, disaster response, and environmental monitoring. Jason Scheffler at Vernon Malone College and Career Academy will lead his students in building a working race car simulator alongside Wake Tech and industry partners. I will share with parents that students will not be driving the race car. It will be the board chair. At Abbots Creek Elementary, Leandra Carpino and Kelsey Harrick will use their 4C grant to put a calm corner in every classroom, which will help students develop self-regulation skills and stay engaged in learning. And at Millbrook Magnet High School, Stephanie Goblet and John Clark will create a sustainable housing facility for the school's small animal herd, giving students practical experience in animal science, agriculture, and engineering. These projects are very different from one another, but they all have one thing in common. They give students meaningful opportunities to apply their learning, solve real-world problems, and build skills that will serve them for years to come. They also remind us that some of the best ideas for improving student learning come directly from the talented educators in our classrooms. So thank you to our 4C Fund recipients for bringing these innovative ideas to life and for continuing to create engaging learning experiences for students across Wake County. As we prepare for another school year, I want to highlight a program that makes a real difference for both our teachers and our students, the Wake Ed Partnership's Tools for Schools Community Supply Drive. I was honored to join Board Chair Tyler Swanson, Wake Ed Partnership President Keith Poston, and our parents at Staples earlier this month to kick off this year's campaign. Since launching in 2022, the Schools for Tools has distributed more than $2 million worth of classroom supplies, helping thousands of WCPSS educators equip their classrooms without having to reach into their own pockets. We know many teachers spend hundreds of dollars of their own money each year on classroom supplies. This program was specifically created to ease that burden. Every WCPSS teacher and certified staff member can shop at Tools for Schools each quarter to select classroom supplies at no cost. I encourage all teachers who haven't visited yet to reserve a shopping appointment through the Schools for Tools website. Community members can also make a difference. You can donate new school supplies at any Wake County Staples store through August 21st. Make a financial contribution, purchase items from the Tools for Schools Amazon wish list, or organize a supply drive in your neighborhood or workplace. Volunteers are also needed to sort donations, stock shelves, and assist teachers as they shop. It's a great way for individuals, businesses, and civic groups to support our schools. Every backpack, notebook, and box of crayons donated helps ensure our students have the tools they need to succeed while erasing a significant financial burden on our hard-working educators. My sincere thank you to the Wake Ed Partnership, Staples, and the many volunteers, businesses, and community members who continue to make the Schools for Tools such a tremendous success. I'd like to close by recognizing 16 outstanding WCPSS seniors who have been named 2026 National Merit Scholarship recipients. They are among only 5,000 students nationwide recognized for exceptional academic achievement. These students earn either National Merit Scholarships or college-sponsored scholarships through a highly competitive selection process, recognizing academic excellence, leadership, and future potential. This year's recipients represent Apex Friendship, Enloe, Green Hope, Green Level, Leesville Road, Panther Creek, and Wakefield High Schools, as well as the Wake Early College of Information and Biotechnologies. Their accomplishments reflect not only their hard work, but also the support of their families, teachers, counselors, and school communities. So congratulations to each of the recipient students and best wishes as they continue their educational journeys. Visit the WCPSS Facebook page to see the full list of recipients and help us celebrate these outstanding young people. And Mr. Chair, I'll yield back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Vice Chair Hershey has left the online settings. I just wanted to announce that so it could be reflected in the minutes, Ms. Allen. So I will go around the table, and we'll start with Board Member Hegarty. I almost said Vice Chair Hegarty and Hershey, so give me a moment.
It's quite all right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, it is summertime. We had our retreat. This will be the only board meeting that we have this month. But we do have a lot of looming business waiting for us when we get back. And so at our August 4th meeting, we're going to talk about our budget. And now that the state has passed a budget, we find we have different expense projections than what we thought we would have going in. As Ms. Edmonds had said earlier in our retreat today, there were a lot of surprises in the budget. But this one, these are truly budgetary issues. where we are going to have to amend our budget to keep it balanced. And as we do that, we need to be deliberate. We need to consider the student outcomes and student impacts. And we will need to make a lot of tough decisions around shared priorities. We know we would love to do a lot more in our schools than we currently do. But we have to remember that everything that we add has an impact. And where we add a program, we potentially can't fund something else that we may have funded before. And I bring that up in the context of just preparing everybody. We're not going to vote on August 4th, but we're going to, I'd like to ask everyone to be prepared for that discussion. And it'll be a hard discussion. Just tonight, we heard from a student who came up and talked about, or a member of the community who talked about badminton and how wonderful it would be to have badminton in the schools. And we've heard from others, advocates who would like to expand sports. But specifically, they had a specific ask. We should be able to provide this in the schools through the community schools program free of charge. Well, you can make a good argument. This is something that benefits children, can keep them engaged, promotes physical health. It's a community service. We should want that for our kids. But remember, when we passed our budget this year, and we had to go in and identify revenue to prevent cuts to our special education program, one of the things that allowed us to do that was a surplus in the community and school, the community schools program. And when you start calculating providing multiple weeks at multiple schools of free use of the building for one particular program that's not an academic program, you lose that surplus. And you think about, just in this budget, one of the decisions we made, having that surplus allowed us almost $1 million in savings, which we could use to prevent cuts to high school program enhancement professionals. All of those important arts programs that we heard about. And so, while there are benefits to that expansion of a badminton program, and you can argue there's a community and charitable benefit to offering free use of the facilities, please remember the impacts. And by doing something laudable on one hand, your actions could result in having to make a horrible cut in another program area. This is just how interwoven all of these budget decisions are. So we may need to look at some of the potential cuts that were brought to us before, but if we've rejected those cuts, we may need to look at new ideas, fresh ideas. We already know that we're going into next year with over $5 million that we were able to cover in one-time spending that we don't project will be in next year's budget to begin with. So please bring your most thoughtful, your most creative, and your most dutiful selves to the discussion that we'll have August 4th. Thank you.
It'll be at the work session, but it'll come to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting on the 18th.
Sorry, I can't get mine to work. Yes, that is correct. We won't have a vote, but we will be getting the information, hearing it, and we might have some discussion of some initial ideas, especially if you have something you'd like to direct to staff to explore or look at. It would be good to have those ideas so that we can notify them in advance of this process, because we are under pressure to adjust our budget as soon as we can now that we have the state budget numbers, so that any changes we make can accurately be reflected for our staff and our teachers and everyone else.
Thank you. Board Member Edmonds?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Taylor and Chair Swanson, for the work that went into our retreat today, and to all the staff involved in the planning and those that were in attendance with us today. Since our last meeting, the General Assembly finally released a state budget, and this board will have a lot of work to do as Chair. See, we just can't get rid of that chairmanship. As Finance Committee Chair Haggerty pointed out, but there's a lot of work ahead to reconcile our budget with the state, with what the state has passed. Another huge piece, and I did speak about this today at the retreat, that is in the new budget is policy. There's a lot of new law and regulation. So in the weeks and months ahead, we will have to do even more work, not just on the financial side, but also in policy to ensure that we're compliant with those new regulations. Some of these new regulations are not rooted in what's good for students. Rather, they're an attempt to limit students' freedom to read, limit student access to honest conversations about America's history, censor educators, and sow doubt in what they can and cannot teach, and minimize rather than celebrate the diversity in our public schools. And this is a well-funded, manufactured, organized effort nationwide, and it's not lost on us here in North Carolina. So, as this board will always comply with state and federal law, it must also be our commitment as a board to do what's best for all students, and that's going to require thoughtful conversation, engaging the community, and assuring our teachers that we trust them and we honor their professional expertise. Responding to this budget and the new legislation will not be easy, but I know that our values are in the right place, and we will work to maintain excellence in Wake County Public Schools. Thank you.
Board Member Rice.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm excited about the great things happening across District 4 schools and throughout our community. While all District 4 traditional schools are enjoying summer break, I want to extend my sincere appreciation to our 12-month employees for keeping our buildings open and continuing to support families as they prepare for the 26-27 school year. A special welcome goes to the brilliant students of Southeast Raleigh High School who will begin the school year on Monday, July 27th. Classes begin promptly at 7:25 p.m. a.m. They would love that, right? No, 7:25 a.m. Principal Harden asked in his principal's remark to remind families to arrive early, prepared, and ready to start the school year strong. So I wanted to reiterate that for our folks who are having to go back to school in July, right? I also encourage families to intentionally prepare not only academically, but emotionally, environmentally, and socially, so students can have their best school year yet. This weekend, I had such a good time this weekend, you guys. I had the opportunity to attend a Youngpreneur pop-up. It was hosted by Morris Thompson, the Beyond Yanni, located on Rock Quarry Road. Let me tell you about the Youngpreneur pop-up, okay? It was inspiring to meet talented past and current Southeast Raleigh students, not just the school is what I need you to hear, Southeast Raleigh students that live in the area and from other parts of the county who are already building businesses like, I got to share this with you, Malik Thompson, who was an artist, and he's 17. He was the class of 2026 at Southeast Raleigh. He's also received North Carolina Arts Proficiency Endorsement, attending Wake Tech for a year, and then transferring to Fayetteville State University, majoring in visual arts with a concentration in graphic design. Then there was Marcus Thompson, who DJ'd and who's also a poet who's also a sophomore at Wake Tech, majoring in fine arts. And then there was Micaiah, who made some good old chocolate chip cookies that I had no business eating, but they were good, made from scratch, bakery. She's currently not in school, but she's 22, but she's a graduate of Southeast Raleigh High as well. But guess what? She's moved into her first apartment, and she's navigating adulthood well. We also have students who is twins that are over in the Zebulon area. Ella Bodie and Armand Bodie. Ella sells beaded jewelry, bracelets, and earrings. Of course, you know I had to buy some that was matching my shirt that day. And then Mr. Armand, he is an author, and he had about 3 or 4 books that he had written right there. So it was really, really nice to be able to see our students moving in such great ways. And so I wanted to share that opportunity and how wonderful of a time that I had seeing our students, who are past and present students, doing exceptional things in Southeast Raleigh. So next time they do a pop-up entrepreneur, youthpreneur, I want some more of us to kind of go out and celebrate those students if we can. As I was saying, I also want to thank the students who continue to speak out. One second. I needed to share, the students also spoke at the Youthpreneur. They spoke passionately about the importance of arts education and shared that dance and other creative arts are just as valuable as athletics. Those were their words, not mine. My role was simply to listen. The students shared how they came to board meetings in the past and spoke up about the arts. Their perspectives remind us that why creating opportunities for students' voice is important. And so I also want to thank the students who continue to speak during our board meetings. Your voice matters, and we are listening. To expand these opportunities, however, of youth engagement, I've invited elected officials from every level of government to participate in the Teen Talk Tour with T. Rice and Friends. Our goal is to create meaningful conversations where students can share their thoughts directly with the decision makers who serve them. Our kickoff meeting will be held Friday, July 31st in the Briar Creek as part of a response to the July 4th events, which will be our pop-up event. And following that, we'll have regional Teen Talk tours, meetings that will take place on the second Thursday of each month from August to October, and then again from February through April 2027. These conversations are not the finish line. They are the beginning of an important dialogue. And so together we have the opportunity to ensure every young person knows they are seen, heard, valued, and engaged. Their voices today can help shape a stronger, healthier Wake County tomorrow. As part of our ongoing focus on the 8 dimensions of wellness, I did not forget that, even though we're back. This month's wellness dimension is intellectual wellness. So intellectual wellness is the intentional pursuit of knowledge, creativity, curiosity, and critical thinking. I encourage everyone to ask themselves, am I growing, learning, and staying curious, or am I becoming stagnant? When you find yourself mentally overloaded, unfocused, or stuck, try these 2 simple strategies. Write down your thoughts to help clear your mind, and I need you to do one other thing. Stop multitasking and focus on one task at a time. Thank you all for investing in your intellectual wellness and continuing to grow, as always, so that you can have what? A positive and productive day. Board Chair.
All right. Dr. Jobe.
It's always hard to follow this race after that much energy. Good evening. I want to wish a wonderful year to the year-round students who have started class this month and who will start next week. The year-round school calendar is an important part of our communities, especially in District 8. Last week, Board Member Edmonds and I met with several Holly Springs Chamber of Commerce members who have been impacted by the need to reduce the multi-track calendars to a single track in the district, and I appreciate their coming forward. It highlights the need for both Wake County schools and the towns in which we serve to be intentional about the growth in the communities and how we manage that growth. I'm very impressed by the students who stepped forward to help shape AI policy in WCPSS, including those who spoke tonight. In the end, they are who will be impacted by the policy we write, and I encourage Dr. Taylor, my colleagues, and the staff to center their voices in what is developed. Finally, July is Disability Pride Month. The Americans with Disabilities Act, which underpinned the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, was signed into law on July 26, 1990. It's hard to believe that it's only been 36 years since we codified into law the need to provide equity measures to everyone, to help everyone access the world around them. And in the same year, we made giving students with disabilities equitable access, including least restrictive environment, to an education, the law of the land. Wake County serves more than 20,000 students with identified disabilities, and I want to take a moment to recognize the more than 1,000 special educators who not only meet their needs every day, but work tirelessly to help them overcome the systemic barriers that exist, no matter what the legislature says, destigmatize disability, and ensure that these 20,000 students are a vital part of the Wake County Schools community. Let's continue to celebrate all difference and the inherent value and potential of every single one of our students, not in spite of their differences, but because of them. Thank you.
All right. Board Member Gordon.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to first acknowledge it was great, engaging and thoughtful discussion today during our board retreat. Very long day. As we welcome our year-round and modified next week, students, families, and staff back for the start of a new school year, I want to wish everyone a successful and joyful beginning. I also want to take the time to acknowledge the concerns surrounding the structural improvements needed at Creech Road Elementary. I know many families and staff have had questions, and I want our Creech Road community to know that I share those concerns. As your board member representative, it is incredibly important to me that every student and staff member return to a building that is safe, reliable, and prepared to support teaching and learning. Please continue to reach out with your questions and concerns to ensure that we are working to address issues with transparency. I also want to acknowledge how meaningful personally it is to me as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Wake County School merger. It is truly a privilege to serve on this board during such a historic milestone. In 1970, fun fact, and during the year of the merger in 1976, my grandmother was a first grade teacher at Vena Wilburn Elementary. Public education has shaped generations of my family, and it is an honor to continue that legacy by serving the students, families, and educators of Wake County today. Before I close, I'd like to address something that has been weighing heavily on me. I've thought carefully about whether to bring this up publicly, but I believe our community should know, given the discussions about the newly developed state budget. As I've spoken with educators across our district, I've become increasingly concerned about the number who are quietly facing insecurities outside of the classroom. Whether it's housing, food, transportation, childcare, or other basic needs, we know that student success is directly tied to how our educators show up every day. These are the very people who show up every day to care for and educate our children, often while carrying burdens that many of us never see. To our employees, please know you do not have to navigate these challenges alone. Our district's Employee Assistance Program and other available supports exist to help, and I encourage anyone who is struggling to please reach out. And to our community, as we begin this school year, there are simple but meaningful ways you can support our schools and our educators. First, extend grace to our educators and school staff as we welcome students back. Second, be patient as everyone settles into new and maybe different and temporary routines. Communicate early and partner with your child's school. Volunteer when you can, and a simple thank you, the educators and staff who make a difference every day. And most importantly, remember that strong schools are built when families, educators, and the community work together. Thank you to our students, families, and educators and staff for all you do, and I wish everyone a safe, successful, and joyful start to the new school year. Thank you.
Dr. Ng.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Welcome back to the school for all the students at our multi-track year-round schools. In District 3, that includes Pleasant Union Elementary, Brassfield Elementary, North Forest Pines Elementary, Heritage Elementary, and Heritage Middle. I hope that everyone had a great summer and is now settling into the new academic year. On July 30th, we will also be welcoming back to school our single-track year-round students at Durant Road Elementary and Durant Road Middle Schools. Speaking of Durant Road Elementary, as we have heard already, we really appreciate everyone's understanding and flexibility as we temporarily relocate students and staff to nearby Abbott's Creek. I trust that the contractors will do their utmost to complete the work necessary to ensure that the school will be structurally sound. I know that there will be a time crunch to get the job done before Abbott's Creek starts their school year, but I know everyone involved will want to get the job done right. I want to thank Principal Sanchez and her team of staff and teachers for rising to the occasion to adjust to this unexpected course of events. Resilience is something that we talk about a lot here, and I am grateful to everyone for showing resilience in such a time as this. Nevertheless, I understand that it will be difficult for teachers and students to be out of their elements, out of their routine, to be outside of familiar environment. So I ask everyone to extend a bit of grace for the disruption in the routine as we try to get this project done. And these unexpected renovations do highlight for us the added strain to our capital improvement budget. That means that some projects that were on the waiting list may have to wait a little longer. I hope that we will be able to have a clear and transparent roadmap on how this unexpected expense will impact future projects. Finally, I am thankful that we finally have a state budget passed on Jones Street. I want to thank our local Wake County representatives on the General Assembly for being an example of working across the aisle to advocate for public education. I'm glad that teachers are getting a well-deserved pay increase, but for us, as we have heard, the work continues as we finalize our own budget. Also, we will be doing a deep dive into the new laws that we will need to incorporate into our policies and practice. I'm committed to helping with finishing a balanced budget and to ensure that we will be compliant with what the North Carolina General Assembly expects of us. In our retreat today, we talked about how the current strategic plan was adopted in 2023. And while it was passed by a few of us on the board, the discussion and design of the strategic plan predates pretty much all of us on the current board, except for Mr. Hegarty. And that means that many of us will be involved in designing and adopting a new strategic plan in the coming years. And I am committed to contributing to the work to make a new strategic plan that reflects our current needs and which will be compliant with our current laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Malone.
Thank you very much. Just really quickly, I just wanted to let the board know that we have a summer clerk this year who's with us tonight, Grace Whittemore. She's a student at Campbell, and she has completed her second year of law school, so she'll be starting her third year in a couple of weeks now. So anyway, just wanted you to know that she's here. Thank you.
Thank you. I had to make a note to circle back to you. So every now and then we'll have to add attorney comments in this portion. But I'll be brief so we can get into closed session. But I just want to thank the BAPS charity again. Last month I had the opportunity of visiting one of their temples and speaking with their members and thanking them publicly for their support and partnership. Also want to say welcome back to our year-round students. Dr. Taylor, Dr. Chaves, and I had the opportunity to speak to the staff at Adams Elementary for their kickoff couple of weeks ago. So I want to thank Principal Jones for that invitation and for the great work that's happening at Adams Elementary School. Last week I had the opportunity of visiting Morrisville Elementary and Carpenter with Area Superintendent Williams as we got to see and visit some of the students in the year-round schools, and always excited to see the opportunities that our students are engaging with and the stories there. And so I appreciate both Principal Collins and Burton's leadership at those schools as they are kicking off the great work that's happening in one of the many year-rounds in District 9. And so Also, just want to thank you all for engaging in our retreat. I know we had a little break, and so glad to be somewhat back in the swing of things. We'll also be taking a small little hiatus until the 4th of August, and then we'll get back into our regular scheduled business. So with that, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session for the reasons listed on the agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, so moved.
It's a motion by Mr. Hegarty, Board Member Hegarty.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Ing. All those in favor of it, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signs. The ayes have it. We are in closed session.